Bonjour! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Fasten up your seatbelt and enjoy this journey into Muse World with Lamia Norbay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Me as Well. On today's episode, my guest is a very special guest of mine. So, he's a life coach and he's a founder of Brotherhood UAE. And I guess his life purpose, if I'm not wrong, but we'll discover more about it, is he wants to help men in the UAE to better themselves. So, today we've got Adil with us.
Hey,
How are you?
fantastic. Finally, we made it happen.
We made it.
I know last time we talked about setting this up, I got a little bit sick, but I appreciate that you were flexible in making this happen.
Of course, of course. How are you?
Fantastic now.
Good?
Yeah, feeling good, feeling strong. I'm ready for this conversation. Very excited.
Perfect. So let's dive right in. So I've got a little bit of a tradition with my guests
Okay.
because I'm very curious and I want to know a little bit more about your early years. How was your childhood and how was your upbringing, you'd say?
How was my childhood?
Yeah.
That's such a big question.
Yeah.
Let's pick a part of my childhood. So I grew up to a Pakistani dad and an Indian mum.
Okay.
So dad is Muslim, my mum is Hindu. They came from their countries to be in London, and I guess they fell in love at some point, and they moved away from their family into a place in southeast London, which is predominantly white. So there begins the trouble.
Okay.
Racism was quite high back in those days, and it was a time where I was actually grew up quite confused. Interesting that we go down this route now, or that why I even picked this, but I was confused about my identity.
Okay.
I was too brown for the white people, and I was too white for the brown people from a perspective of how I spoke, couldn't speak my native tongue, my culture and everything. I couldn't relate. But I still had kind of the cultural aspect from my parents who wanted me to be a certain way, really pushed me to be the smart kid. You know, they really wanted me to be smart, educated. But on the flip side, I was not someone that liked sports or any kind of fitness. My dad wanted me to get into martial arts. I was not down for that. I was really a pushover. I was a softy kid. I was bullied. I was non-confrontational, and I was just smart. You know, so I had that element, and I would hide behind the education part. But I never felt enough, especially growing up, living in the life that I did in London, feeling like my dad wanted me to be harder, tougher, more masculine, more manly. That was nothing like me.
Okay.
I was not very masculine in the typical sense of the word. And he was very much an alpha man, leader of the household, tough, strong, confident, had lots of charisma. You know, people loved him. He could fight. Literally the opposite of me.
Okay.
So that would summarize my childhood,
All right.
being that guy.
Okay. And how did you manage, you'd say, over the years? How did you deal with obviously being different than others? And how did you find yourself?
You know, the turning point came when when my sister came into the world. So my sister is 6 years younger than me, and she's like a little blessing, you know? At the beginning, as you can imagine, there was like such a big age gap that we couldn't really relate on many things. But as we grew older, she actually became my source of confidence.
Okay.
So around her, I would be fully me. No filter, no mask, no nothing. So she, even think about now in my teenage years and my early 20s, she knew who I really was.
Okay.
My silly side could come out, my goofy side, and we would bounce off each other. Even when we were younger, we'd play games and, you know, whatever. She was far more confident than me.
Okay.
So even from a young age, she was the spoken English competition, like competitor. She would win public speaking competitions. She was like my best friend. You know, even though she's my little sister, we were like really, really close. And when we were younger, my parents separated. So I was like 17, 18 and she was 11. And that really took our relation to the next level because we really had to come close. And that's really where it began. So from 11 plus, for my sister, is where we really connected. And yeah, with her, her way of being was just so out there and so strong and I think that maybe there's an element of having a big brother,
Yeah.
but she definitely took on the traits of like my dad. I think very much a great speaker, and she even went on to study like law and stuff, and she's great at debating and all these things, which proved to be a pain in the ass because she would always be on my case about certain things until when she had a problem with me, she was very good at articulating certain stuff too,
Okay.
which meant that I would get so frustrated, and I was a very angry young man. I'll get frustrated and break things, and it's very different to where I am now. But because of the way that she was, she brought out that side of me that was able to make me feel better about life. Like when we were younger, we would go for the summer holidays, 6 weeks. I would be the kind of guy that would go out and just kick a ball against the wall.
Yeah.
But I wasn't very good at making friends, and I didn't have friends around me. And she would go out and make friends immediately. Like a whole new set of friends, like in an afternoon. Come back, she would learn how to ride a bike. She's got a new friend. There's a dog following her around. There's a family that wants to adopt her. And there's me just playing kick-ups by myself. That was me. So we were very different. But so that was a big part of my transition, was just finding my confidence through her. And over time, finding myself in general, but another big turning point for me was when I lost weight, because I was very chubby.
Okay.
My confidence was on the floor. I didn't like my body, also very hairy. I'm a very hairy man. I didn't like my body hair. And that also goes back to identity. Growing up in Southeast London, it was very much a white area, or there was like, I used to wish I was either white or black, but not brown.
Yeah, I get what you
And I used to watch TV and see these guys and like hairless bodies and like abs and six packs and good, just fit guys. And I was like, why can't I be like this?
Mm.
I'm never going to be attractive to anyone, looking like this. No girl's going to want me. So I would never wear shorts. I would never take my top off. I used to shave my body hair. Loads of insecurities. And also being chubby. I ate my feelings. I was the kind of man that would, if I felt down, because I was very sensitive, I was very emotional, but I wouldn't talk about how I felt.
You'll keep it to yourself.
Keep it to myself. Again, it was not encouraged to speak up. Again, I told you my dad was very like tough. I know it's not because of him, but it's just you monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, of course.
You see what's around you. So I didn't really know how to articulate myself, and so I kept a lot of things inside. And over years that built up, which built up resentment and anger and frustration and explosive anger, which is why it would come out on those closest to me, my mum, my sister. And after my dad left, it was me, my mum, my sister at home. So it was very kind of troublesome for me. But when I got into fitness is when everything changed. I developed a mental fortitude. I learned to respect my body and fall in love with the process. I started to see change. I also shaved my head at 19, and when I shaved my head, my whole look changed.
Yeah.
And I went from being that guy that was like everyone's friend to a guy that was now attractive. And that goes a long way for a man's self-esteem and his confidence. And then it kind of continues from there. So what went from, being a man that became fit and attractive and having a good time with it, it then evolved into something a bit more wholesome, where I became a personal trainer. I would train people outside of my 9 to 5. And I just became that guy. I love being the motivator. I love being on Instagram, even back in the early days, holding the phone like this and saying, right guys, it's Monday. That's been me for a long time.
Okay.
Even before all of this. So there's always a part of me that wanted to give back and do more and help people. I just didn't know how it was going to manifest. And that's why I thought maybe it was being a personal trainer.
Okay.
Clearly that wasn't the case. It manifested in something grander than that.
I really can relate to what you must have been through in terms of like obviously coming from being chubby, as I told you and as we've talked about. I also come from a place where I was overweight, and then obviously when you lose the weight, you see, oh, now I'm changing, now I'm attractive. But I wonder, because this was something for me I struggled with, is that even though you look a certain way and now you're suddenly attractive and everything seems fine, but you feel like you still don't have that confidence. Did you ever feel this way?
100% in the beginning.
Okay.
Now I'm good.
Now
It
you're
took me
good.
many years to get to a point where I'm good. Happy in my body. I'm not the leanest, but I'm good. I feel like I've really come into my body. Like it's like a man body, just I'm good. I'm okay. But yeah, it did take many years, because then I just felt that I had to keep training and keep an eye on my food and all these things in order for people to like me. And I had a good time with it. I took advantage. I wasn't a good man back in my 20s. Like I would get into
Why would you say that?
I would get into relationships.
Okay.
I loved relationships, but I loved women more, and so I would cheat a lot. And it might not be like I would necessarily sleep with anyone, but it was more so wanting attention, giving attention, flirting, texting, dancing with girls in the club, or even kissing with girls in the club, which is all cheating. But I couldn't get a grip with it, and I had no desire to even change it. I knew it was wrong. We all know it's wrong.
Yeah.
But that's why I say I wasn't a good man. But on the outside, people thought I was a good guy. But I wasn't. This man had demons. This man behind closed doors was not the man that was out in public.
Yeah.
This was an angry man, a man that didn't like himself, a man that didn't understand his relationship with his shadow, and had no desire to fix it.
And when was the turning point for you where you were like, okay, you know what I'm doing is wrong. I need to stop doing that. This is not healthy.
Yeah.
And I needed to let whatever emotion I was bottling up to come out.
So from the age of 18 to 31, I lived at home with my mum.
Okay.
I didn't want to, but it just felt like I had to be at home.
Okay.
So all of this stuff that I talked to you about being a good man, not being a good man, was all happening during this period of time. And I was there thinking and feeling that I'm supporting the family. I wasn't supporting the family. I was just at home. I was a waste of space. I wasn't contributing. I was doing nothing. And I felt ashamed for being at home. All the while being this cheater. At 31 years old, I was in a really loving, beautiful relationship with this really amazing woman who loved me so much. And I always describe her as an angel. Yeah, if you imagine an angel fell from the sky, boom, that's her. She was lovely. She found out I cheated on her, and I heard heartbreak through the phone, and it was so painful to hear it. No one deserves it, but she was such an undeserving person of that. The kindest, sweetest soul, and we were trying to repair our relationship over a period of weeks and months. Around the same time, things at home were just getting a bit crazy, and I got asked to leave the house. And at the time, it was just too much for me to handle, all these things at once, The two most important people in my life, my partner and my mum, were just not okay with me.
Okay.
So I called my boss and I said, listen, I need to go away for a little bit. I'm going on a retreat next week to Morocco. I need you to sign it off. If you don't, I'm leaving anyway. He was like, okay, just go. So I found this retreat, and it's run by these two ladies from the UK, actually. It was in Morocco, in Tagazout, in Morocco. It was yoga and surfing.
Okay.
And I knew that if I went just on a holiday, I would end up doing stupid things. So I needed to go somewhere where I could just follow a structure of mindfulness and just be around people that would just be good for me. And so even though in all of that state, I just knew what I had to do. And I wasn't the most ignorant. Like I was still aware of these kind of practices and stuff, and yoga and journaling and everything, meditation. But I needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lost and broken. I would say this is my worst possible time.
Okay.
I was angry. I was sad. I was frustrated. I was confused. And I just thought, what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? What is happening? So I went on this retreat, and it was really nice. It was really good to be part of that experience and be around those kind of people. It was all middle-aged white people, just for context. And it isn't about that. It's just, again, going to a place where I felt like I couldn't rely on myself or trust myself to go and just be somewhere else, even though I was trying to repair this relationship. But while I was there, I met a Reiki healer called Kate. And back then I had no idea what Reiki was. And she said, come, let's have a session. Sounds like you need it. And I was like, yeah. And I was very open with everyone about how I felt and what I was going through. And I used it as a space where I could just pour my heart out. It felt safe. during this Reiki session, ended up being a bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
There was like sound healing, there was tarot reading, the pick a crystal, there was a whole bunch of stuff. But there's one moment that really stood out for me, and it was when she asked me to move her to a part of the room that would represent my mum.
Okay.
And she had referenced my mum because one of the tarot cards, she asked me what it reminded me of, and I said, looks like my mum, like carrying a burden, carrying a weight. She's like, okay. So I think from that, she understood that maybe there's something here. So I moved her to a part of the room, and she kind of fell to the floor and started crying. At this point, I was thinking, okay, what did I do? And then she says to me, speak to me as if I'm your mum.
Ooh, that's intense.
I later found out that this is called a family constellation. I literally only think this year I found out what that was. So I got into it and we started having a dialogue. And the things that were coming out of me were things like, I hate that you didn't pick yourself up after dad left. I hate that you weren't there for me when I was a kid. I resent that I lived at home, and all this stuff was coming out and I felt so guilty for saying it out loud. And I felt responsible for being at home, for the happiness of or the safety of her. Now, of course, I'm not responsible, but it felt like I was. And even though I told you I was a waste of space, I didn't do anything. I didn't make her life any easier. I wasn't just another mouth to feed. And I look back and think, why was I like this? And I think that resentment of being at home was there, just living for myself. I even crippled myself into debt so I couldn't leave. I'd spend money that wasn't mine, credit cards and everything. So I couldn't even leave the house if I wanted to. So there was something keeping me there, subconsciously self-sabotaging my future so that I would always have to be there. And then Kate said, we can't parent the parent. Energy always flows down, and we are the children, and we have to allow them. She goes, your mum was fine, and she is fine, and she can do everything. She'll be okay. And she was speaking in the first term, like, I'm okay, I'm good. And she gave me the sound bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, this sound bowl represents all the love you gave that you didn't need to, that you can take back for yourself. Even though it was all symbolic, it felt so real.
Of course.
And I said, I can't take it back. She goes, yes, you can. You need to. I love you. I'm good. I have plenty. I can take care of myself. You need this right now. You need this love. Because I felt like I didn't get love when I was growing up from my mum, which wasn't true. I just couldn't understand it. So when I took the sound bowl back, it felt like a weight lifted from my shoulders. And I just felt light. And I start crying. And then she puts my head in her lap and starts to stroke my head like I'm a baby. And I just thought, I'm just going to be here and just enjoy this. It was nice. And so other things happened throughout the conversation. But there were some things that came out of this for me. Some downloads and some integrations. One of them was that I was very lucky that I wasn't depressed, suicidal.
True.
Over the years. Maybe there were bouts of depression, but we didn't call it depression back then. We're just sad. Yeah. Depression is now a word that people use more freely, and there's a lot more awareness around it. Maybe I was just sad. I don't know. The other thing is that because I felt lucky that I didn't experience levels of pain to that degree, it meant that I didn't have to rely on external support or help or anything like that. But what if I did need it?
Yeah, of course.
What if I did? And what about how much I suppressed over the years? Why was I suppressing so much over the years? And actually, what can I do to change that? So I came out thinking, I need to talk more. That is something that's been part of my life. I also want to help men talk because this is a big man thing.
Yeah.
Men don't talk. So how can I change that?
Of course.
I didn't know what that was going to look like, but I just knew that I wanted to be someone that would help other men talk and speak up. The next thing I realized was that, I want to reflect my relationship with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's so important that I understand that my mum did try her best. She did do her best, and she loved me as much as she could. Maybe it's about understanding how she loved me. So the other thing I realized was that to receive more love, you need to be more loving. So I wanted to go out into the world and just be more loving, especially with my mum, for example. I didn't know how that was going to look. And I also knew that there was still a lot to repair within myself before I can go back to my mum. But I knew that a change had to be made. And I also understood the reason why I cheated. And that was because no amount of love I received from any woman was going to be enough because of the relationship I had with my mum. And I didn't understand that at the time, you know? And I knew that that had to be dealt with. But in that moment is where I was like, you know what? I'm done. There's now no excuse now. I have this awareness. It's time to take action. So I left Morocco. I went home. I broke up with my girlfriend. I ignored my mum for 6 months.
Okay.
And I focused on myself. I started working with a men's coach. I started working with a therapist. And I joined a men's group online, which was my men's coach.
Okay.
It was his men's circle. Every Wednesday for 2 hours we would talk. But that's where I started doing the work. Started to understand what was going on. Like, why was I like this? And I start breaking it all apart, breaking myself apart, looking at myself deep in the eye, in the mirror, and integrating these shadow parts of myself that I discussed earlier, and never look back. And that was the beginning of, I want to do some work with men. You know, I want to build something where men can feel safe enough to speak up with each other. And I didn't know how it was going to work. And I remember back then I was still in London. Now, obviously, now I'm in Dubai. And now I have something called Brotherhood UAE, which is about doing just that. Giving men a safe space to speak up, be themselves, be honest, be a man of integrity. Because that was my journey, from pretending to be a man of integrity to being a man of integrity. A man that really walks his talk. That man behind closed doors is the same man he is out here. You know? Yeah. That's important. And we live in a world right now, or we live at least in this part of the world, where there's many men that are just lost in so many ways. Not willing to face themselves, hiding behind the shiny things, chasing a lot of the material things out here, chasing cars and glitz and glamour and girls, and doing everything they can to numb their emotions and their feelings so they haven't got to face it. But most men don't know how to even approach any of their emotions or feelings. So why should they feel them? Why would they elect and want to feel something?
Of course.
You know?
Of course.
So let's go.
So, all right. So let's just go back a little bit more.
No, sorry, we can't go back.
Yes, a little bit. I'm just intrigued. Okay, so you come back from Morocco, you do all the work on yourself, which, by the way, it's quite impressive. Because I feel, again, talking about a conversation we had previously, I feel it's hard sometimes for men to be vulnerable and talk about how they feel and about their feelings, and the fact that you actually tackled it and be like, okay, this is the problem, I need to work on it. Really hats off on that. Now, I want to understand, what brought you to Dubai?
A girl.
Okay.
I was in a long distance relationship with someone that lived here.
Okay.
And it was during COVID. And during that COVID year, I actually traveled more than I did think in my whole life. Whenever we could travel to each other, we did. And it was very much an online Zoom relationship. But it got to a point where it was a case of, well, are you coming or what? And I'd already thought about Dubai years ago. I'd written in my journal, like, Dubai. I had a few different countries. I think it was like Barcelona, it's like Spain, Barcelona, Zurich in Switzerland, Amsterdam, and Dubai. As potential places that I could move to and live. I was already very open to just leaving London. But she was a catalyst for me being here, and I'm very grateful. The relationship did not pan out. It did not work. After, I think, a few months, we broke up. But I stayed. And this is actually something I wanted to talk about today. A part that I don't usually talk about. And that was the struggle. That was the pain of being alone in a completely new country, which has no support at the moment for those that aren't working. Of course, like, you come here, you work, you get money, that's it, or you go back home. But something was keeping me here. I knew that I had to stay. I didn't know why. Maybe it was also a fear of going back home and as a failure. But like, imagine starting a men's group where you're trying to get men to open up, and that's your profession, plus the coaching. It's very difficult. A PT is easier to sell. A men's coach is harder to sell. And for a long time, no one came to the men's circle. No one came. We called it the man cave. No one came to the man cave. I was sitting in a park in Dubai waiting for someone to join me after putting adverts on my Instagram or on meetup.com. No one came for a long time. And there were days of struggle where I thought, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I choosing to stay here and struggle? And then we had COVID round 2 came up.
Yeah.
And there was even more of a struggle back then. I think during that time, my grandmother passed away. I couldn't get home. I got stuck at the airport. I got kicked back from the airport to back into Dubai because they didn't allow flights. It was a very distressful time, and I wasn't making any money. I was struggling so hard. And you know who saved me?
Who?
Ian, who you've had on this podcast before.
Ian from
I ran a men's circle, and Ian was one of the guys that came one time. It was in collaboration with another guy. And I told him what I was going through. And he was like, dude, come stay with me. I was like, what? We only had just met the week before.
Okay.
And he said, come. And he put me in his main bedroom in his house, in his villa, and let me just stay with him for like 3-4 months. No charge, no nothing. He just, I got you. And now obviously we're like best friends. This man was a savior. But there were many moments of this kind of behavior. And it was always when I was at my worst. And I would just surrender to it and just like, oh, okay, what can I do? There was another moment that was so powerful for me. And it was a moment where I almost gave up on all of this stuff. I remember the day I was speaking, it was a Sunday. I was living in Business Bay at the time, again, with another brother that helped me.
Okay.
Let me stay with him for a little bit. And again, I've met amazing souls. Dubai is full of amazing souls.
I agree.
You know? Angels that take care of you when you most need it. That day, I remember having this feeling in my throat all day. Like a lump, like, oh, I don't know what it was. It just kept rising. I just felt that something was there. And I was so low. I had like no money in my account. I was struggling. I was having these conversations throughout the day. Like I gave a lot of free coaching away, and no one was coming to the man cave. No one was taking up new sessions. I just felt so stifled. I felt so alone. I always felt super lonely, like really lonely. Didn't really have many friends. I didn't I didn't even reach out to anyone. I was disconnected from my family back home. I really wanted validation. I really wanted something around me to show that, hey, you're okay, you're doing good, or even some kind of energy from a woman. I just wanted something, you know?
Of course.
And if you scroll back far enough on my Instagram, you'll see that there was very different kinds of posts where it is a bit showy because I just wanted something.
Something back.
You
some
know?
love.
Yeah.
Some
attention.
affection, yeah.
And I look back, it's kind of cringy, but I leave it there on purpose. And I remember speaking to my dad that day, and he was saying, why are you there? What are you doing? What kind of job is this? Come home, get a real job, settle down, stop messing about, stop playing around. And it just hurt, you know, to hear this. And I kind of a couple of tears would come down. I didn't let him know how I was feeling. I was like, yeah, Dad, you're right. And I put the phone down. And I called my other friend, she's a breathwork coach, and she was helping me through some stuff at the time. And I thought, let me get some perspective. And I talked to her. She said the words that I guess I was thinking. She said, what if you're not supposed to be a coach? And what if you're not supposed to run this man cave? And it hit me so hard. And I felt this lump. And I was like, oh God, okay. I was like, you know what? I need to go. Thank you. I love you. Bye-bye. Phone down. I go into my room, and now everything that follows is pure intuition.
Okay.
I have no idea why I'm doing it. I'm just doing it.
Cool.
I go into my room. I light some incense, burn some sage. I take all of my clothes off. I close the curtains. I put on this ayahuasca music, so Icaros.
Okay.
It's the music they play or they sing and make noises during an ayahuasca ceremony. Again, intuition, just put it on. I just need something deep and spiritual that I could connect with. Put it on, and I hit the bed. Bang. As soon as I hit the bed, I start crying. Like big tears, like big baby tears. Bubbling, blubbering mess. That was what was happening. And that lump was just coming here. So it was like all the tears were just rising up into my face and coming down. And I swear I've never cried that much. I think the last time I cried was probably when my dad left.
Okay.
It was like that kind of tears. Like 17 years of whatever I was keeping inside of me was coming out of that in that moment. I started having like everything I thought I would say out loud. Like, I'm alone, I'm scared, why am I here? Or maybe I should go home. Everything. I just said it out loud. I don't know why. I don't know why I was doing it. And then I start like soothing myself and like hugging myself and trying to console my inner child. That's what it felt like. I started seeing visions of my inner child that he's like literally crying in the corner. And I'm trying to talk to him and say, it's okay, like, everything's gonna be all right. But I'm also feeling it.
Yeah, of course.
I started, and I get up, I look in the mirror, I'm like just looking deep into my eyes, I'm seeing these tears. And then I see a vision of me shaving my beard. And I start crying about this. I'm like, why do you want me to shave my beard? And then I don't know how long this maybe went on for 2-3 hours. I pass out, fall asleep, wake up in the morning, and I shave my beard. And honestly, I felt lighter. I thought, cool, let's just crack on. I then open my Instagram and I see a message from this guy that says, hey, I see we got some competition. I like what you're doing. I think we should have a chat. You've been recommended. And it said in there, he said, we're about to host an event called Men Don't Cry. I would like you to host it.
Wow.
The day after all of that, that's the message I received. These guys were 2 brothers from Southeast London or from South London who felt like home.
Okay.
When I met them, I was like, wow, this is what I've been waiting for, looking
Yeah.
for. It's like my tribe. And they host a podcast called the Mentality Podcast.
Okay.
And it just felt like brothers, you know? And we hosted an amazing event about Men Don't Cry and the vulnerability around that. And it just tied in so nicely into who I was, what I was doing. And it felt like, okay, I surrendered in that moment to what was happening. And God said, cool, I got you. Thank you for surrendering. Here's what you need to be doing. Don't go home. We got you. You're on the right path. It's a bit tough sometimes. Here you go. And there were so many struggles after that, of course, but that was just a nice one. That was a nice moment for me to talk about, also to experience.
Can
You know?
imagine.
Today, we have 100 members in Brotherhood UAE.
Yeah, I saw your post today.
Yeah, and I'm so proud because it's those moments where I look back and think, I almost gave up. There's 2 times I almost gave up, and I think I'm so glad that I didn't. I ran a man cave every Tuesday for the last 3 years, even when no one came, even when I wanted no one to come, because there were days when I didn't want anyone to come, out of fear. At least if no one came, I can just go home. But if I'm sitting there waiting, it's like, oh, I'm failing in real time. But anything you want to do, like even with this podcast, you stay consistent. That's all it is. Consistency and belief.
Yeah.
The community will rally around you. And this is still the beginning.
I know.
100 men is still the beginning. How many podcasts you've done is still the beginning. There'll be a day when you've got your like 1,000th podcast, you know, and you've got like top sponsors that are trying to like get onto you, and you've got guests that are huge, not as big as me, but huge guests, you know, it's coming. And this is what I like. All of these things come together, and I feel I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, of course.
And the journey. And I encourage all men to embrace moments like this and not to wallow in it. One thing I never do is wallow. I don't stay in negative states.
That's good.
Because I can see that there's lessons. Even I recently went through a breakup. I see the lessons. It was a very deep, and it was a lot of love, and it was very quick from together to not together. And the heartbreak was there, but I moved through it so quickly because I was like, cool, what's the lesson? How do we go through it? And it wasn't a case of suppression. It was really, really opening it up and looking at it. It still might take some time, but I was allowed to process it, I think, far more quickly because of that mindset of, what can I learn from this? What did it teach me? What really happened? What was the reality? Rather than looking at the, oh, I wish, or, you know, the potential.
Of course.
Looking at the reality of what it was.
So you would say, obviously now, what would be the kind of, if any man is listening right now, what are the kind of techniques that you use to kind of overcome any negativity, any struggle, any hardship? What are the kind of techniques you could share out there?
When I'm going through hard times, especially if I'm overthinking, I always ask myself, is it true?
Okay.
Sometimes our mind can tell us things,
Oh,
play
yeah.
tricks on us.
100%.
And so if I can say, is it true? Then I'm like, cool. Then I can rationalize it. If I can rationalize it and apply logic to it, it means there's a solution that I can apply, which means there's some level of action I can take, even if it will take some time, that'll lead me towards a way out. It's just, again, it's understand it. Is it true? And if it's not true, then you start to throw in all the truth.
Of course.
And then you think, oh, actually, maybe that's not how I feel. And also I like to change my environment. Because if I spend too much time alone in those thoughts, it's gonna be very challenging for me. So there's things that I stick to, like my morning routine. You know, waking up and praying, waking up and meditating. So I pray Fajr in the morning, and then I meditate, and then I hit the gym. Those 3 things are mandatory. You know, if I don't do those things, it's not that I won't be okay, but it's just I'm not at my tip top. You know, I'm not on top form. And so in moments when I feel so low, I have to maintain the bare minimum, my non-negotiables, because I know it's gonna be okay. In the past, what would I do? Binge eat the worst foods, sleep in, not go gym. How are any of these things gonna help me?
100% I agree.
How will it affect my mind? We know about the gut, right? The gut-mind connection. If I'm eating all the bad foods, then it's not gonna help my gut or my mind, both. Why do I eat bad foods when I'm feeling sad? Because when I was a kid, I was told that, hey, if you're a good boy, we're gonna get you McDonald's.
Are you gonna get a chocolate?
Yeah.
I know.
So my brain was, I have to rewire my whole brain around this stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love a burger from time to time. I love pizza. And I'm still the emotional eater, but I'm far more in control of it.
Good.
And I have to just let myself do what I have to do. You know, I don't go into pits of it.
Okay.
Surround yourself with good people. Tell people. So in my man cave, which I attend every week, obviously, I use the man cave. I speak to the men, honestly, about how I'm going through. I'm not there to be some holier than thou guy.
Yeah, of course.
No, I'm not sanctimonious like that. Like I'm there too. I'm just one of you guys. You know?
Of course.
If you're a man going through some stuff right now, look at your environment. Look at who you spend time with. Make sure you're getting some sunlight. Go move. Sit with yourself. Journal. Like write out your emotions. Know what you're feeling. If you don't know how to do any of that, join Brotherhood UAE.
There you go. Right there. So on a weekly basis, you hold the men cave on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, correct?
Yeah.
How do you keep consistent? Like during the hard, well, I'll take an example to explain to you where I want to go with that question. There are days where you wake up, you don't feel like going to the gym, but you just show up because it's consistency. Okay. How do you show up in front of now 100 members? I don't know how many averagely,
on a weekly basis, we average between 30 and 40 men that show up at the circle.
How do you show up in front of them?
They give me energy.
They fuel you.
They fuel me. But also, honestly, before every circle, I'm tired. It's 8 p.m.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
a Tuesday and 8 p.m. on a Wednesday. I'm tired. But as soon as I get there, I just feel energized. But you know, also, I know that I'm doing this for a greater good. My conviction and my reason and my motivation is bigger than me. So even when I feel like, I don't want to do this today, I know that I'm not doing this for me. But I also know now, because I've got enough experience and there's been consistency and enough social proof, I can see that it also helps me. So on my lowest days, I know that I will come out of that feeling far better. And so I have to keep running this. I remember telling you, I actually got really overwhelmed a few months ago because I was like, wait, I can't stop. This is never going to stop now. How can I create a movement like this and then try and take
a break?
Yeah. I can't. It has to continue.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as no man cave now. It is every Tuesday and Wednesday. And maybe we're going to bring in another day. It has to continue. That's quite overwhelming.
100%.
But the greater good is so needed. It's so necessary. When I get messages from men saying, you know what, you saved my life. Or thank you so much for what it is that you do. Like, you don't understand how much it's helped me. Or I'm no longer taking my medication. Or I'm no longer thinking about suicide. And I finally made some friends. Or I got a new job. Thank you so much for help bringing me out of this dark hole. That keeps me going.
I agree. So talking about the wins, if you could highlight, or if you could say, all right, this was the moment where I was the proudest or the happiest.
Yesterday, when I had my 100th member.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, seeing it in general every week is so beautiful. And I remember there was one day when there was so many men that showed up, like 40 men. And I think 2 weeks ago we had a circle where half the men there were new.
Oh, wow.
And that was insane. But yesterday, seeing the 100th member, it meant something. especially when it literally started from nothing. And when I didn't even used to charge, now it's a membership, like 250 dirhams a month for tier 1. There's 2 tiers. But look, also from a personal perspective, making and having no income for a very, very long time, finding a way to duck and dive, just to try and make ends meet, and seeing consistency of income, I'm proud of that.
I agree.
Literally starting from zero to building something that is only going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
That is an achievement for me, because you can go out there and have a job and you can get your consistency of a salary and a paycheck, but when you don't know what's coming every week or every month, that's painful, and you still got to pay rent. Exactly. You still got to find a way to eat. Like I said, luckily I've had angels that have helped me along the way. Ian for one, Yahya for another, my friend Amun. There's been a few that have really, really supported me. And I would have made it to some degree even without them. There would have been other people. But just seeing how resilient I've become.
Yeah.
One of the things that got me through it as well was I had this vision of myself, and I said, this is going to make a great story one day, this journey. Not wanting to give up. And one of my idols is Dwayne Johnson.
Okay.
And his story of like having $7 in his pocket and to where he is now, like his billionaire. And it isn't about the money, it's about the grit, it's about the dedication, it's about the resilience, and it's about giving back and doing more for yourself and for those around you. And one day it will all fall into place. That's what I tell anyone. If you want something, just don't give up. You'll get there. Just one foot in front of the other. It all starts with a single step.
That's beautiful. So we keep going. Now I've always told you, I wish somehow, and I know the man cave and brotherhood, it's mainly for men, but as a woman, I would have loved to be a little mice in the room to just hear the conversation.
Yeah.
But obviously I can't. But I'm interested to know, what is one common topic that you see coming up during the conversation with men?
Relationships.
You think it's the biggest struggle here?
It's not about here, it's about even just in general, men talking about their relationships. It isn't about Dubai.
As in loving relationship or family relation, or any relationship?
Any really, but definitely romantic relationships, being with their wives. So we've got a lot of divorcees in the group, and men that are going through a lot of pain there. A lot of men that are on the edge of divorce, some men struggling with their communication in their relationships, struggling with polarity in the relationship, which is like how they find each other attractive. And someone looking at some of the reasons why these things occur. There are men in relationships where there's no intimacy anymore. Yeah. And imagine being in, and I've been there too. That's one of the biggest topics, is talking about and don't get me wrong, we don't sit there and talk about that all the time. The format of the men's group is that there's a check-in where everyone gets 5 minutes to check in, and then we talk about a big topic.
Okay.
And last night we talked about the struggle with male vulnerability.
Oh, that's a nice one.
That was an hour conversation where these men shared
very nice one.
Yeah, they shared why they struggle with vulnerability, And one of the things around that, for example, is safety. They're scared that if they say something, it'll be used against them.
Yeah, I get that.
If they share their vulnerability, that how much do you share? How much should you talk about? And to what degree are we then looked at as weak or not strong anymore and can't protect or provide or whatever it might be? And there are definitely gradients to this, and different people respond differently. And that's the dance of life. That's what I told them yesterday, is you will navigate it, you have to learn. But suppression is not the answer.
Good. I agree.
We talk about money, people wanting to be successful. That comes up a lot, and the burdens that come with that. And also the balance, juggling everything. How do you juggle being this man that's out there making the money, everything, and then being a dad?
Yeah, of course.
Or a husband, or whatever it might be. How do you manage all of these things? And the burden that men feel on their shoulders, that they're responsible for all these things, spinning all these plates. What about me? What about me? No one cares. Our love for us is conditional, not unconditional. And that's how it feels. And then you got the other aspect of like finding a partner in Dubai and the struggles that come with that,
Yep.
But that is not one person or the other. That's a collective shift that I think is happening right now, where I think people are afraid to commit.
Yeah,
And
I
I also
agree.
think that because of things like social media and dating applications, that there's this illusion of choice.
Yeah,
People think that
exactly.
they will find someone else.
100%.
And you will find someone else, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, for many years, I would jump from relationship to relationship, and it was because I thought they were the problem. But I was the problem. It was me that had to work on myself. Yeah, there might have been some compatibility issues here and there, but mainly it was because I wasn't ready, and I wasn't ready to do the work to invest in really invest in the relationship. We need someone that we can really be with and grind with and go for it together. Yes, there should be polarity, and there is all the stuff will come, provision, protection, all that stuff. But at the beginning, it's right. Are we in?
Mm,
Do we align?
exactly.
What do you want from life? What do I want from life? Does that match? You know, let's work out some of these basics first. I'm a big
100%.
advocate of when you first go on your first date, work that. Speak about it at the beginning.
Yeah, openly.
You want kids or no kids? No? Cool. See you later. I do. Peace.
Exactly.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like nowadays it's straight away dates, sexual attraction, just the surface level, and no one actually take the time to go deeper in these kinds of conversation.
Look, there's a time and a place for it too. If sex is all you want, fine.
Yeah, of course.
Just be straight up about it.
Exactly.
From both sides, women and men.
I agree.
All right? Play the dance, do the thing, go out for dinner because you know what's coming next. Fine. But be honest about it.
100%. I agree.
But I don't think people they don't want to go deeper. It can stay there, but someone's got to take the first step.
Mm,
You know?
I get you.
It's how we articulate it. And the confidence to do so.
True.
Yeah.
Shoot your shot, like you always said.
Yes. Shoot your shot. Ladies, if you need to shoot your shot with someone, go do it. And then let them take the lead after that. Okay? So if there's someone that you like, don't be afraid to just go out there and say, you know what, you're kind of cute, I quite like you. And leave it and see what he does. If he does nothing, then you know your answer. But at least you're not just kind of waiting for him to do something. But after you've said something, then it's for him to take the lead. Okay? So it isn't about you kind of going to a place of your masculinity. No, don't worry about it. Okay? Say what you got to say, drop back and see what happens. Okay? Top tip.
I'll try that out.
Yep.
I still need to do it, by the way. I said I would, but I didn't. All right. Another thing that I want to know. How many do you know on top of your head?
6.
What? 6 what?
I don't know. Go on.
I mean, on top of your head, do you know how many gathering you had ever since you started?
1 a week for 3 years, 52 times 3. That's to say 150, excluding all of the...
I'm bad at math.
Right, so excluding all of the networking events, the trips, the everything else, 200 plus.
Okay. In these 200 plus gathering that you had, what was the lesson you learned personally that you took away from these gathering? If you were to kind of sit back and look at like all these gathering that you had, all the sharing, all the service, all the trips, what are the lessons that you personally took away from them?
Keep it simple.
Go on.
So for the man cave, for example, or even the membership, or even the what do we do for value?
Yeah.
I was overcomplicating it. I was like, we got to have fishing trips for the boys. We got to organize a networking event. We got to organize hikes. Wait a second. I need to dial this back. I need to do what I'm good at. I'm not an events manager. I don't do this. I'm good at the man cave. That's me. I'm good at coaching and I'm good at man cave. Let me just double down.
Yeah.
And when I started doubling down on that, everything changed. The other thing I learned was, in the beginning, people thought, oh, men's coach, man cave, da-da-da. This sounds interesting. Let's collaborate. I did so many collaborations, or tried to. I was pulled from this place to this place. I was pulled everywhere. It was good to say yes at the beginning because I understood that I need to say no.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm one of those guys where I go one way and then I go complete other way and then I find balance, right? Once I understood what I needed to focus on by focusing on everything first, it allowed me to really hone in on what it is it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So focusing on men. Previously, I was doing like women's workshops. I did speed dating.
Okay.
I did a speed date in paint. That was so much fun. Shout out to Fosca. That was fun, but that's not me. That's not what I want to do. Like, why was I doing it? And that was back in that day where I was feeling a little bit insecure or
Yeah.
needed validation. So I had to just regroup. So out of all of this, double down on what it is that I needed to focus on. Stick to working with the men, helping the guys out, sticking with the man cave, not accepting every collaboration from everyone that wanted to express an interest. I have far more scrutiny around who I work with, on which podcasts I come on also, because it's important.
100%.
It's important for my energy and also for my integrity.
Of
And now
course.
in a place where reputation is so important, I need to be careful who I align with. I don't know, what their agenda is or who they are. Like, I need to be careful, all the while making sure that I'm making money, I'm taking care of what needs to be done, I'm adding value to the men's group, and I'm maintaining integrity throughout the whole thing. I would never have experienced any of this or learned any of the lessons without taking risks with all the stuff. And I'm a big advocate of taking risks, So be more risky and get focused.
Perfect. So, before we move to the last bit of the podcast.
What do you mean the last bit? We're already there.
No, there's something else. I have a last question, and then I have a tradition that you don't know that I didn't tell you.
Oh,
But I'll tell you about it soon after this question. Where do you see yourself and Brotherhood UAE in 10 years' time?
global.
Global?
It's global.
No UAE anymore?
No, it'll be global. I mean, look, we're already going to be hitting all the Emirates.
Mm.
The plan is for this to be aligned with government. Inshallah, His Highness will know about this, and it will be a movement, an actual movement. I want it to be a place where when you arrive in Dubai, you're like, part of your visa package is you go to Brotherhood UAE as a man. Like, imagine,
That's
nice.
Nice.
It's part of your insurance package, even, like, whatever, it's done. This is your place. You no longer have to feel alone when you come here. You've got a community. You haven't got to go to just the networking events, the crypto events, the boat parties and the brunches. You can actually go somewhere a little bit more wholesome. And don't get me wrong, there's a place for all those things. But global, for sure. Who knows, there'll probably be others that might want to take the franchise, and fine. And there'll be maybe a franchise model. Who knows what it might come, but that's the vision. It's huge. Going from hundreds of men to thousands of men.
To millions.
Huh?
To millions. Why
To millions, yeah, who knows? So
Okay.
it will be huge. But if I'm being honest, eventually it won't be run by me. I don't want to do this forever. But I want it to run forever. Because this isn't about me. This is bigger than me. I want there to be charitable arms involved as well. So I want there to be a place where we can give back. And if we can help more men around the world, we therefore help women and children. The more good men, the real good men out there, the world will be a better place. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it will happen. So, before I close the episode, I have another tradition. It's called the rapid fire question.
Oh God.
They are easy, not easy. It's fun, a deep, a little bit of both.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep.
All right, let's start easy. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
All right. Early bird, night owl.
Early bird, of course.
Night in or night out?
Night in.
Gym with the bros or gym alone?
Gym with the bros.
Okay. All right, now let's get a little bit... Well, I mean, I think I know that, but let's still ask you. What drives you every day?
The greater good.
Okay. If you could choose one country to live in forever?
Damn. I don't know. For now, it's Dubai, if you're being honest. Like, I love it
Okay.
here.
All right.
UAE.
UAE. All right. If you had a little genie coming out of a thingy, how do you call it in English?
The lamp.
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 Lamp. So you have a genie coming out of a lamp and asking you, give me your 3 wishes.
Yeah.
Which one would it be?
I mean, I eradicate all the things that are happening in the world right now that we need to deal with. One. I would want. That is such a big question. I want to feel ultimate peace and freedom always.
Okay.
And I'll let that manifest however it's going to manifest. Peace and freedom for myself and for those around me. But I think if I have that internally, I'm able to provide it for those. And I guess I just wish that myself and my family and my dear loved ones are just healthy and happy. It wouldn't be anything too extravagant because the rest of it I'll make it happen on my own.
Good. All right. What is the biggest misconception about masculinity?
That is toxic.
Okay.
That is toxic. That it's we can't. This is not quick fire on this one. Okay, this is a big one. I'm surprised we haven't touched on it. Men are afraid to step into their masculinity because they're afraid that them being masculine is seen as a bad thing.
Mm.
When they get excited, when they feel like passion, when it's like, oh, it's scary.
Why is
Even-
it scary?
There are effects that can come out of excessive expression of emotion from a man.
Mm.
You know, when you've got the toxic side of thing, which does exist. It doesn't mean that masculinity is toxic. It means that there are toxic behaviors. You've got aggression, you've got controlling behavior, you know, and this comes from people not understanding what these things are and how to channel it and process it and go deeper. Like how I was angry, I was an aggressive person, but once I got deeper and understood myself and had built more emotional awareness and intelligence, I was able to dissipate,
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
remove and dissolve those things from my life. And I get where it comes from. I get that there are angry men in the world and there are bad men out there, but masculinity is not bad.
I agree.
It's not bad. And I really want to change and redefine masculinity in today's world so that it's seen as a good thing again, you know, for men and women. Yeah.
All right. If you were to define masculinity then?
Integrity.
Okay. All right.
There are many words that I would use, but that would be the top one.
Okay. All right. If you had one superpower, which one would it be?
I think teleportation.
I like that one.
I want to be able to be somewhere now, like forget Sheikh Zayed Road. I'll be like, boom, I'm at home. I'm in the podcast studio. I'm teleportation 100%.
All right. We got this similar because that's I love that.
Yeah.
All right. The last one, which is actually my favorite one.
Okay.
If you could give one advice to your younger self, which one would it be?
Oh, I don't know why that made me emotional. Just love yourself. Yeah.
All right. Adil, thank you so much. Where can we find you? Where can we find Brotherhood?
So definitely on the usual social media, Instagram, Brotherhood UAE is the handle. BrotherhoodUAE.com is the website. And Adil Coaches Men is my personal one.
All right. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on board.
Thank you.
That was lovely. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
And on that note, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.